Guten Morgen.
Or guten afternoon, whatever the term is for that.
Uh, so you are in East Germany or West Germany at this point? Have you broken?
Right now it's just called Germany, but it
Oh,
is what the former East Germany, Berlin.
are you in a hotel or where are you at?
Yes, this is my scenic, what's it called? Leonardo Hotel. I'm
Yeah.
not going to try to pronounce the name, the place. It's a mess
um,
of consonants.
so Paul, we're just going to kick things off here with the most important reason why you are in Germany. So about 2 weeks ago, I shipped Paul a package,
Hmm.
and today Paul, unbeknownst to
Delivered the
himself,
package.
delivered the goods. Can you please explain the story?
Yeah, you know how it is when you get a package with your name on it, and then you open it up and it's not for you, and how disappointing that is.
Hmm.
I thought that was going to be the most disappointing thing about this, but actually, then I put it in a bag and I flew 3,500 miles with it, and for many long hours, took care of the thing, brought it with me again, put it in the bag to bring it to Berlin. That's not such a long trip, but hour and a half on a plane, whatever. Waited to see Marcus Ashe this morning at the Microsoft Dev office in Berlin and handed him this package. I was so happy to get rid of it because, it was such a responsibility.
Yes,
And then also semi proud of myself because I delivered this thing for you and I thought that was nice.
it was nice. It was
And then
very nice of you.
and then he looked at it and he spit something up and I realized something had gone horribly wrong. And that something is that Brad and Marcus, unbeknownst to me, have had sort of an Ohio Michigan rivalry thing going on for a while now. And Marcus went to Michigan, and Brad got him an Ohio State shirt, which I delivered by hand to Berlin like a jerk. And by the way, I think this very thing is the origin of the phrase "Don't kill the messenger."
Yes, so I've known Marcus for many years,
Hmm.
and obviously, being born in Ohio, it is against my bloodline to root for anything Michigan. And Marcus went to Michigan, and when Paul said he was going to visit him in Berlin, I figured, what better time? And so this is the
Yes,
only time that a Michigan thing will be on my background. But this is actually Paul, the image you sent me this morning.
that's
This
right.
is this is Mr. Ash in his office, and you can see the giant Michigan thing. This is his. It looks like a Surface Book,
It is. Yeah.
and he is every time they play football, we are always texting back and forth or whatever, messaging. And so when Paul said he was going to go visit him, I figured what better way to troll him than to give him an Ohio State shirt so that he can wear it when they're victorious
Yep.
this later this
Yeah.
year when they play each other.
I did post a picture just recently of him holding the shirt, still in his packaging. Um, that picture that you just showed was we were kind of walking around the office and he was
Hmm.
showing. By the way, he works for Laura Butler. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's his workstation. That's where he works. And so, we had sort of discussed the Ohio Michigan thing, and then we got over to his where his area is, and he says, "Actually, I have a Michigan, decal in the back of my Surface Book." And I said, "Good. Why don't you go stand behind it? I'll take a picture for Brad." you know. So we went out to lunch with him and a couple of his coworkers, and which was great. And then they give us like a little tour of the thing,
Sure.
just for whatever it's worth. And you've probably seen a few of these as well. As you travel around, there are Microsoft field offices in the United States and then around the world as well, and they're typically there for purposes of sales, so for local
Hmm.
purposes when you're international. There is one of these in Berlin. I sort of had gone to it last year. I went to the other Berlin office they have. There's a cafe on the bottom floor. In fact, I think the cafe opened the day or two before we arrived, so it was kind of a random occurrence. And we never went up to that office, but I've been to a few international Berlin or international Microsoft offices. The office that Marcus is part of is like a dev office. In fact, it's the former location of Wunderlist, which is the basis for Microsoft to do, which is
Hmm.
part of the stuff they're working on over there. Also, the stickies, what do you call them? The sticky
Sticky notes.
notes
Yeah.
is out of there, and some other stuff. It was kind of interesting. But I told Marcus afterwards. I said, you gotta. He was trying to think of some way. He's like, he said, Brad will understand. I have to get him back for this, obviously. And I said, what you got to do is try to like take a picture where you're handing it to a homeless person, and the homeless person is saying no to the
Wow.
shirt, or like walk
Wow.
around the
That's
city of Berlin and like like hang it on statues and then take a picture of it and like send them one every day or something.
I just
Or find. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I just imagine he would let it on fire and he'd send me a video of his kids just dancing on it.
Yeah, actually, fire was one of the. Yeah, I was going to get to that. Lighting it on fire was one, and then also, like every once in a while in a city, you can find like a trash can that has like overflowed all over to the ground, and I'm like, just drape it over that and just take a picture of that. Like you could just basically, you could have a year's worth of fun with this thing if you did it right.
Yep, and to put some context into perspective of the relationship I have with Marcus, if you go back to build, what was that 2 years ago, 2016, when I had the Clippy suit,
I believe it was last year, 2017, I think,
or 2017, whatever. Yeah, 2018 was this year. Jeez, time flies. Marcus was the one who procured and signed off on the Clippy suit out of storage, so that I could run around the dev show wearing that shenanigans. So he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. My family loved him. They're a really nice guy. We might actually meet him and his wife for dinner, depending on how things. Yeah,
very nice. Things, Paul, that are not nice is because we've got a slideshow back here today.
Yep.
Is why my camera's pointed down a little bit. That's what's going on. But this was my basement as of about 24 hours ago. My water heater decided that, hey, I don't want to hold water anymore, and vomited it all over my floor.
Well, as we discussed privately, the good news is that's clean water.
Yes, that is. So this was a fun trip, and so I did the natural thing. I actually put this water heater in, so I called a plumber to have them come out, and I just wanted them to install one. I was like, I can go buy it, and I'll get all the parts. You guys just do the labor. Paul, can you guess how much they wanted for labor?
$800.
You are not far off. They wanted $700 to install this thing. And I looked right at the guy and I said, I'll do it myself. And he went, really? And I went, yeah. Like, I think he just honestly thought it was going to write a number down and be like, this guy will just do it. I'm here, whatever.
Is there a point where you have to point a torch at something to like?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that would be the part I wouldn't be sure of.
So it's really not too bad. I mean, like I installed the original one. I ripped it out. My father-in-law came over and I got the new one, got it down here all by myself. I did most of this stuff. And when you're doing the soldering, it's super helpful to have somebody else there. And so he came over and we used the blowtorch and we just soldered it back up, hooked the gas line back up, checked for leaks. And
so the one that blew all the water all over the floor, I assume there was still water in it.
Yes.
So how did you handle that?
Specifically, Paul, I can ballpark it to about 30 gallons of water.
Yeah.
Because what actually failed, so on the bottom of a water heater, there's a valve that's designed that you can hook a hose up to, and you open the pressure relief valve, and it all drains out. Well, conveniently, in my case, that valve is what broke. So I couldn't actually hook a hose up to it because the valve literally just fell out. Like, it just fell off the thing.
Do you have a drain down there? I mean, how does water get out?
Yeah, we do. Fortunately, very fortunately, this studio is on the opposite side of the house as the water heater. So nothing substantially got ruined. There's a lot of stuff that got wet, but nothing ruined. And so you'll enjoy this, Paul. So I couldn't hook a hose up to the water faucet or the water tank. And the other fun part about this, Paul, is that I'm not familiar if you don't know what a water heater does, but it heats water. And it keeps that water very hot. And so it's not like there's just like glacier cold water coming out of this thing. It is scalding hot. I mean, I think my thing was set at 130 degrees Celsius, or not Celsius, 130 Fahrenheit. I mean, this was hot water. And so I can't hook a hose up to it. So what I have to do is hold the pressure relief valve open, and then water just comes squirting out of this valve, catch it in a bucket. And it was like a 2-gallon bucket. And I did about 15, 20 trips over to the sink. And that's how I know that there was roughly 30 gallons in there.
Wow.
It was.
Yeah, that sounds time consuming.
Yeah, the whole process from going to Home Depot to buy one to being done was about 6 hours. It could have been sped up a little bit. I mean, I ate lunch in there and whatnot, but now I have this thing, Paul, which for no other reason.
How fancy.
Yeah, this is an internet connected water tank. Because why not at this point? I mean, I figured my life doesn't suck enough. Let's put something else in there that can fail. And,
sure.
But the nice thing about this one is it's hard to see in this image. There's a wire that drops down, and now sitting on the ground, there's a silver pan, and it's got a water sensor in it. So it will
Okay.
actually,
So if it gets wet, you'll get an alarm.
yeah, it'll actually
Hopefully,
tell
get
me
ahead
if
of
it's
it. Yeah.
leaking. I can adjust the temperature remotely. I can set it
Mhm.
away for cost savings and all that stuff. Definitely not necessary, but at this point, the difference in price was like $20 between the non-Wi-Fi connected one and the Wi-Fi one. And I figured, why not? Everything else in my house is connected. Let's just screw with the water heater.
Yeah. Cool.
I mean, and I'm also very optimistic this thing is not an attack vector into my network either. I'm sure it's the latest and
Was
greatest
it made?
security.
Was it made by Huawei? Just you might want to just look at the logo. That's all.
So, because this has been a very Microsoft themed podcast today, Outlook.com also gets a new dark mode.
Oh, that happened.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
It did happen. So that is that. What else is on your agenda there, Mr. Threat?
You know, as is so often the case, we arrive in Europe in the middle of a historic heat wave, and it's been close to 90 or 90, like basically every day we've been here. It's kind of incredible. Like the nice thing here now in Berlin is we're in a hotel and it has air conditioning at least, but it's just brutal out there. So originally I sort of figured today I would do this out on my phone out in the world, but we were all kind of you get kind of beaten down by being in the sun so much. So we kind of cut it short, but we went to a computer game museum that most normal human beings wouldn't find too interesting. But if you're into like video game and computer nostalgia, I put up a bunch of shots on Instagram. And then the other thing, not a big deal, but I wrote a premium post yesterday about Microsoft's cross-devices strategy. And this kind of nagging thing in the back of my head that's bugging me about this. And it's funny, I talked to Marcus and those guys, and they were kind of on the same page with this, which is, the cascading impact of Microsoft's defeat in mobile is it kind of never ends because they don't really have a way to seamlessly get people onto this stuff because they're not really on, someone would have to choose to put the stuff on a mobile device, and really the only vector they have for attracting an audience other than like traditional advertising, I guess, and obviously the enterprise, is to put little ads in Windows 10, say, little things that bounce up and say, hey, by the way, did you know that Edge was on mobile too? Or, hey, did you know that we can, do stuff about your phone? And, it's the only choice they have. And it's just kind of sad because that's the type of thing I complain about a lot. Like, I don't like those kind of advertisements, but, what are they going to do? I mean, that's kind of the consumer play.
I do have a follow-up here, which I meant to talk about earlier, but then my water heater exploded. So do you remember the issue I had where I was complaining about how in Windows 10 I got an ad to use Edge on mobile, but I was already using it? And so Microsoft actually reached out. They said, hey, we want to look into this because we know it's an issue and we have an identified case with you. And, so I gave them some information so they could track all this down. And they wrote me back with the update. I'm not going to mention this guy's name, but he said, hi, Brad, quick update here. We determined the cause of this issue. It looks like on some devices where you are connected with your account, my Outlook.com account, you have opted out of the Microsoft tailored experiences in your privacy settings. When this setting is configured, it is currently applied to all devices signed in with the same MMSA, regardless of what the local device says. Essentially, if you turn off tailoring on one device, it's off on everything. And we cannot.
Where do you do that? How do you when you say
settings.
What is it called? Do you remember?
I think it's actually just called tailored experiences.
Huh. Okay.
And so if you turn that off, it's off on everything. It says we cannot personalize suggestions you see, which is why we weren't able to take into account the fact that you already had it Edge signed in mobile. We're working on ways to refine this logic to avoid these situations. So there's a couple things to unpack here, at least notably that if you do turn that stuff on, they really can't see anything. So it does, in fact, actually change things. Two, I shouldn't have seen that even though I was opted out, and they're going to fix that. So.
Okay.
Yep.
So it seems like it was a legit complaint.
It was.
There's another way to put it.
Yes, there's also that. So, one other quick suggestion here. So you've been to, I think the past 3 times you've been to Europe, you've experienced a heat wave. Is that correct?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
Yeah, have you ever tried not going in late July?
Yeah, so not coincidentally, I just had this conversation with my wife, and part of the problem is just the kids in school, right? So,
right.
the joke was sort of like, we should consider coming here when it's not the middle of the summer, like, and whether it was Boston or now we live in Pennsylvania. I mean, honestly, the best time of the year to be home is the middle of the summer. It's beautiful usually, although it's been hot, back home too. But we have air conditioning at home, so that's fine. And it's just a kid's schedule. That's why we've been doing this for so many years. I mean, the kids get out of school and you have that time. But even with that kind of a schedule, it does kind of break up the summer a little bit. Like we used to the reason we've always done it from like the middle of July to the beginning of August, or end of August or end of July to the middle of August, was so that the kids had some time after the trip to have a summer back home as well. In other words, they're not coming right back from the trip and going right to school or whatever. Like, so we try to we've always kind of timed it right in the middle so that there was a little bit of summer in the beginning, a little bit at the end too, that we weren't, taking away their summer at home. But yeah, now that they're older and it's like my daughter has 2 more years of high school left, so I think we're kind of stuck with this for a couple of years at least. But yes, this is in the plans for sure. Soft season. What do you call it? The shoulder season, the off season,
the not hot season,
the not middle of the summer, whatever that is, season.
Yep, there are seasons that are like that. So, yep. You got anything else today before we pack it in?
No, I'm actually gonna try to do a little bit of work, and I've got Windows Weekly today too. Tomorrow we fly, but it's not till the night. But I think tomorrow's going to be a little bit today, like where I'm going to be out in the world. Like I don't know if I can get anything done work-wise tomorrow, except maybe in the morning. So I guess I'm just going to be out of the picture a little bit. Appreciated Mehdi texting me 222 times today after I told him I'd be out of the office. It seems like it's a mistake to tell anyone you're going to be occupied. But anyway, unfortunately, we did some site changes, right? And we're trying to fix things. And it seems like every time we touch the site, there's a cascading effect of problems. We have that Z order problem where, the menu comes down and it's behind some of the stuff on the site, like stuff like that. And people had login issues, although I believe those have been fixed. So it's just the way it is. Like, I'm traveling in Europe and I'm getting email complaints from people who can't, log in or whatever. And I feel bad because I'm a little slow getting back to them in some cases, maybe because I was flying at that time or whatever it was. But anyway, if you are one of those people send them in, of course. I mean, we're trying to get that stuff fixed. So I think if maybe you're a little more attached to this than I am, but where are we? We're in pretty good shape right now, aren't we?
Yeah, I think the login issues have been resolved.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, there was a little issue I had if you're a premium guy, and we have that Thurrott Now feature on the site. Like for months now, we've had this problem where you would post it and it would delete everything as it posted, and we had this little workaround we could use, but it was really kind of monotonous, and I actually forgot all about it. And I posted something without doing the workaround, and it posted. I was like, "What? What's just happened?" So I was all excited. I reached out to you and Tim the other day, and Tim was like, "Oh yeah," he goes, "I thought I did something to fix that." I was like, "Thanks for telling me, jerk." But anyway, it's interesting. Like the house of cards that is WordPress. Every time we touch anything, we have to go back and kind of fix things. Anyway, I believe we're in pretty good shape with that stuff. So, how about you?
I'm playing catch up from yesterday, and I think that's about it.
Yeah. Okay.
So, all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of First Ring Daily and with Paul in some other country. Have yourselves a wonderful day.